Founder Culture, the podcast for founders and startup leaders who understand that building a business may be hard, but building a team, now that's where things get tricky. I'm Romaine, right? Founder of Just Right Consulting LLC and creator of Thrive or Derive. In every episode, I take one real team issue, break down the behaviors driving it, and provide strategies on how to fix it. Welcome to the show. So today's episode is called I Know I Need to Focus, but I Just Hate Saying No. Imagine this. You're on a call with a potential new client, and as you're talking, you realize this is not your person. What they're asking for is outside of your lane, your offer doesn't match, and you already know that this is going to require way more time, energy, and effort than it's worth. But instead of just saying no, it's not a good fit, you're already thinking about how you can accommodate them. Maybe you can offer a discount because they don't have enough budget. Maybe you can adjust your program because you can help. Maybe you can just do a little bit just to get them to the next step. And you end the call with this feeling of dread, that familiar sense of why did I agree to this when I know it's just not the right fit. This is something I know that happens a lot. And I want to talk about it because I talk to a lot of new entrepreneurs, a lot of founders, even a lot of existing entrepreneurs that are just continuing on their journey who are struggling with narrowing their off their audience because finding a niche kind of feels like they're letting other people down, feels like they're betraying other people. So let's talk about the challenge here, what it really looks like. We're taught at a really young age that if you can help people, you should help people, right? No matter what they look like, what they believe, you're always taught that you should do whatever you can to help. And so as adults, when we don't help, sometimes it makes us feel guilty. If I can help, I should help. And so as we transition that into our businesses, it feels like niching down and narrowing our focus is letting other people down. We don't want to leave them out because we know we can help and we want to make an impact. Especially those of us that care about different causes and are passionate about different types of groups, we feel like we want to help. Now, this is an episode I was inspired to record after speaking with a founder a few months ago, and she was sharing with me just about her journey and her growth and where she is in her business. And we were talking about her audience. I've just asked her directly, who do you serve and how do you serve them? And she explained to me that she had three very distinct audiences that she tailored her pitch, tailored her approach, and tailored how she delivered her framework with each of them. And as I listened to her talk, I realized that in a given day, she is cycling through over and over and over these three different pitches to these three different audiences before she even is getting paid because she's trying to figure out what's the best approach to these different groups, but very distinct. One being a group she's worked with for a long time, so she knows them really well. One being a group that she resonates with because I've been there before, and another one being a cause that she really is passionate about. And she was struggling to realize that it was necessary for her to pick one. And also thinking about and complaining about how stressed out she was. And I pointed it out. You've got three different jobs, three different businesses that you're running all in the same day. So what's behind that behavior? Because it's not rare, right? This is common. This happens all the time and we don't know what it is. And I'm going to tell you what it is. Or what's the behavior? This is people pleasing, but in business, right? We understand what people pleasing looks like in our personal lives. We can't say no. We can't set boundaries. And if we use those skills or adapt that behavior in our personal lives, it makes sense that it translates into business. So this is people pleasing in business. And these are some things you might be saying or thinking that let you know you are experiencing people pleasing behaviors in your business. So maybe you're thinking, I feel bad for turning people away. Or it's too hard to say no when I know I can help. Not that you should help, but you can help. So you don't want to say no. You may also be thinking or have said, I feel like I'm leaving money on the table if I niche down too much. What if I'm limiting myself? Or I don't want to box myself in. Now, those last few may not feel like or sound like people pleasing, but it's still a reflection of being afraid to niche down and focus on a certain group of people. Now, if you're doing this, it may feel like it'll work out, and it could, but it's going to be a whole lot harder than it should be, because serving everyone out of obligation is in alignment with what your business really is, right? What you've established, the foundation that you've created. You don't want to help them because you have to. You want to help them because you want to, because you're passionate about it, because you're driven by it, and because it's what your business was founded on. Going through these behaviors and people pleasing in business also dilutes your core message. You're a founder. You're building your business. You're building your brand. You should be doing everything to strengthen that message, not dilute it. Every time you go out of your space or you stretch a little further to accommodate someone, you're diluting your message. And then finally, the downside of this is that you're training your audience to believe that you should accommodate them instead of you're focusing and being devoted to what you offer and who you serve. So what's the reset? We've talked about the challenge. We've talked about the behavior. Now, how do we fix this? Like everything I've talked about in other episodes, it's all about reframing our mindset and thinking about this in a different way. So as you think about focusing, you think about niching. Instead of thinking about excluding others, I want you to think about this being a freakish devotion to this certain group. So it's not I'm choosing them and leaving everyone else out. It's I'm choosing them because they are the group that I can give my best to. I can give them the most energy, the most depth, the most clarity. They are who I can serve at my best and be the best. So that's the mindset I want you to have as you think about choosing your niche and who your audience really is. So here's some steps or some questions to reflect on to help you really get that clarity. Ask yourself, who am I most energized to serve even on a bad day? So when you don't want to work, what group is it that's going to energize you, excite you enough to say, I'm going to show up for them, even though I know I'd rather not today. I can still show up for them and have some impact. Another question to reflect is, if I say yes to this problem, this potential new client, can I really show up as my best and deliver impact to them? Or will I really just be going through the motions? Because again, you're building a new brand. The last thing you want to do is just go through the motions, right? So can I show up as my best? Can I really have impact? And then the last question I want you to reflect on is, would saying yes to this stretch my brand or strengthen my brand? If you think about a rubber band, when you're stretching it, you're taking it out of its natural flexibility. And even though it can stretch, doesn't mean we should always stretch it to the max, right? So is this going to stretch my brand or will it strengthen it? And as a founder, your focus is on strengthening your brand and really making it shine. Last thing I want you to think about in this reset is, if it really, really bothers you to the core to say no, create a gentle no with a referral. This is something that I've gotten great at, and I'm very intentional about it when I network with others, because as I build relationships, I'm also building a list of referral partners. So I can quickly say, no, that's not a good fit for me, but I know someone that can help you. And if I can't refer them to a specific person or specific company, I refer them to resources, because maybe it is a good fit, but it's not the right time. So say, hey, go ahead, do these few things, then come back, and then we'll be able to work together. So again, if it to your core hurts you to say no, create a gentle no with a referral, and that'll help you feel a little better, make you feel like you're not abandoning them. So again, we've talked about the behaviors, we've talked about the challenge, talked about the reset. Now what's the takeaway? I want you to understand you're not abandoning people when you say no. What you're really doing is setting boundaries that will allow you to deepen and strengthen your ability to serve the right people at your best and have greater impact. Again, you're not saying no. You're saying, I'm devoting myself to this audience and I can refer you to someone else that can help you. So if this resonated with you and you're watching on YouTube, hop in the chat or the comment section, share some comments, share your thoughts, and let me know what you think. I'd love to hear your thoughts. Check the show notes for more information on how to connect with me and to take the next steps for engaging your team and getting more aligned. And until next time, build trust and results will follow.